Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Crow's Nest Book Reviews. After a very long, unplanned, and unwanted hiatus, there was a myriad of reasons for it, mostly silly reasons, but that is all in the past now. We are back to end off 2022 and go into 2023 fresh and ready to go. I have big plans for the year. We are going to be doing this for real. No more false starts. It is happening, but more on that at another time. Right now, we are here to talk about my top 10 books of 2022. So, without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Starting off the list with number 10, we have Eversion by Alastair Reynolds. This is a sci-fi thriller. Honestly, the less you know about it, the better going into it. Just know that it's about 300 pages long. I read this in 2 sittings. I literally started it, read like 60%, had to go to bed to go to work, woke up, went to work, came back, read the rest. Like, it was that quick. It's just unputdownable. It was so good. Just a really unique idea that I haven't really seen any authors do. I'm very excited to check out more by him in 2023. Next up, at number 9, a book that really does not need much introduction, Fire and Blood by George R. R. Martin. This is the first half of the Targaryen history from A Song of Ice and Fire. When will we get the second half? 2030? I don't know. Whenever it finally happens, I'll be very excited for it. But this book was it's the only history textbook I've ever been like, this is awesome. I want more. Like, it's just I think the whole thing takes it's about 150 years worth in this thick book, but it's so good. It's amazing how he managed to just his world building is just on another level. Like this, it's so cool how he makes me care about the history of these people I don't know and don't really care about. He makes me care about them. It's just absolutely awesome. Let's move that over a little bit since we'll need more room later. Up next at number 8, we have The White Luck Warrior by R. Scott Bakker. This is book 5 of the Second Apocalypse series, which is there was a trilogy and then a quartet, but it's a lot easier to say book 5 of the series overall. Obviously, I can't really talk much plot-wise about it because it's book 5 in a series, but this guy, this book, especially this book, the whole series in general, but this book made me think. After just about every chapter, I would pause and be like, okay, I have to go into a Discord and I have to just gush like about things that this book makes me think about. Like, sometimes there were multiple times in a chapter where it was like, okay, I have to stop because this is making me think about a lot of things, whether it be philosophy or just the world or just even just the plot of the book and theories in general. It's just this book was far and away my favorite in the series, and I just finished it yesterday, the last book in the series, and it's just absolutely awesome stuff. Extremely brutal. Like, this is the darkest fantasy world I've ever seen. Like, it does not get grimmer and bleaker than the things that happen in this book, pretty much. But it's well worth it. Such a great experience. Up next at number 7, we have Legacy of Ash by Matthew Ward, which I already had. That's still the only review on my channel. I'm not going to go and rehash the entire review here, but just phenomenal character work, awesome magic, in your face magic, a very cool tone, just awesome book. More people need to read this. I would love for this to be more popular so that I could actually talk about it with people, since I seem to be one of the few people on the planet that's actually read it. Read it, people! Next up, at number 6, we have Morningstar. This is book 3 in the Red Rising trilogy. This book, awesome. Just the twists, the action, the character work, just kept me guessing and kept me just page turning, even though I did this on audio. So I don't know, ear burner, I guess. I don't know what the audio equivalent of a page turner would be, but it's just so cool. Just really cool settings, just awesome sci fantasy. It's just absolutely epic. Like I said, the twists and just the brutality, the action in this book is just So good. More people need to read this. He's a popular sci-fi author. More people need to read him anyway. Do it, people. And I'm very excited for the conclusion of this series. The last two books, hopefully both coming out next year. So very much looking forward to that. Into the top five we go. Starting off, we have Battleground by Jim Butcher, the current last book, book number 17 in the Dresden Files. This series, I mean, Wizard in Chicago, what's not to love? I mean, it's just, but this book specifically just blew me away. Just as the title suggests, it's one long battle basically, and it's just incredible. Page to page, just every chapter had multiple things. Just like, oh my god, I can't believe that just happened. I can't believe he just did that to me. Like, just this book was just absolutely gripping from front to back. Just I'm sad I have to wait now. I was able to go the entire year reading one or two books a month of this, and now I'm done, and I don't get any more until the next book comes out, whenever that is. Very much looking forward to it. Up next, we have number 4. This is book 4 in The Dark Tower by Stephen King. This is Wizard and Glass. This book, just the characters, just the story, just the writing, just this book was so cool, and it made me like, this book is pretty, I mean, it's not unconnected, it's connected to the rest of the series, but it's a separate story from the main story the rest of the series is telling. And just the the fact that he made me not be like I wasn't missing the other characters during this book. Like, I was just so enthralled by the story. It's like this book actually is what inspired me to go, you know what, I need to read Western novels. Like, I've never really been a big Western movie guy, never been big into Westerns at all, but this is essentially a Western book in an epic fantasy series. And it's just, it's incredible. Just absolutely just heart wrenching story. Just a story where you know where it's going from the second it starts, but the way you get there is just absolutely phenomenal. Far and away my favorite book out of the 7. And now we move on to the top 3. This is where things got very interesting, because these were battles for most of the year. Starting off, we have Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett at number 3. This, you wouldn't think a book about a group of people building a cathedral in 16th century England would be phenomenal, but it is. Just, it's crazy. The politics, the character work, the drama, just everything about this book was absolutely fantastic. Just, you're seeing people's lives. Like, the whole story takes place over a course of, God, like 40 years or something like that. You're seeing an entire life, basically, just lives of everything that entails, love, loss, betrayal, just victory, triumph, just everything. Words can't express how good this book really is, and I don't need to tell more people to read it because it's one of the most well-known, he's one of the most well-known authors on the planet. Like, this, and he deserves it, because I didn't read any more of this series this year, but I'm going to in 2023. I'm probably going to finish it, read the other 2 books, because I just didn't read any more because this one book was humongous and I didn't want to get overloaded with it, and plus I wanted to let this sit and really digest it and come back to it when I was ready. So 2023, I am ready for it. So we will see more of that in the future. Number 2, we have Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. This book, I mean, if you want to talk about exceeding expectations, I did not expect to love this book. I did not expect it at all. Like, everything I'd heard about it, it sounded like a fun book, but I didn't expect it to be like a top 2 of the year. Like, it was just absolutely phenomenal from front to back. Really cool tone, really interesting premise where the whole world is ruled by vampires at this point, and basically one of the last surviving, just basically heroes of the Age of Humans is basically locked up and being told to tell his story, and the entire book works as like this interview where he's telling his story, and you're seeing like both the story being told, but you're also seeing him telling the story, and just the back and forth it allows for like interjecting comments and stuff like that. Just the the humor, the again as usual the characters. I'm a big character guy. That's a very common thing for me. If you have good characters, it's gonna be a sell for me. But this just so much heart and so much just this thing oozes style. And all speaking of style, cover of the year for sure. I even have a special edition up there on my shelves. It's hard to see because it's blue, but it's hard to see because of the glare. But it's this. I want more versions of it, and I'm so excited for book two next year. This will be probably be a day one read when book two comes out. Before we move on to number one, we'll talk about some honorable mentions. I don't have the books in hand for that just because I already have enough books scattered around here right now, and I figure I can just kind of talk about them. First off, we have Jade City by Fonda Lee. That book one of the Greenbone saga. It's basically Godfather in a sort of with a fantasy setting. It's so good. The crime drama, like family politics, just family dynamics, and just really interesting and different, unique world. Similar to not similar to, but similar with Legacy of Ash, where it's like it didn't feel just like a medieval Europe copy. Legacy of Ash was a little bit more, a lot closer to that. It was pretty medieval, but it didn't just feel like, oh, we're in Europe basically, like the fantasy Europe, where Greenbone Saga was fantasy Asia basically, and it was just so good, so good. But it didn't quite make the cut just because I read 91 books this year. Like not everything was gonna make the cut, unfortunately. Out of 91, I got to pick 10. It's gonna be real hard. Other than that, we have Kingdoms of Death by Christopher Ruocchio, Book 4 of the Sun Eater saga. And as usual, can't talk much about it because spoilers and all that, but absolutely phenomenal entry in the series. What didn't quite beat Demon in White, which is actually Demon in White was book 3, was my third favorite book of last year, but still, just every book in that series has been absolutely awesome, and I very much look forward to the end of the series. Hopefully next year. Other books, Cold Days and Changes, books 14 and 12 of the Dresden Files. Those were both very, very high up there. Like I was only gonna pick one Dresden Files book to put in my top 10, and Battleground had to win. But those books were very close indeed. Cold Days especially, I absolutely loved. And then that's about all I've got for the honorable mentions. So without further ado, we'll move on to the book of the year. Before that, though, a quick little anecdote where these two books I read in about, I think, February and March of this year. And the entire year I've been thinking, okay, which I knew it was going to be one of them. Like I knew these were my top three, but I couldn't decide which two of these was book of the year. So I was going back and forth on it all year. One month I would say, okay, it's Pillars of the Earth. Next, Empire of the Vampire. But then December rolls around and the conclusion of a trilogy comes along that just absolutely blew me away. And that was The Lonesome Crown by Brian Lee Durfee. This book was incredible. Over 1,000 pages, didn't feel like it. I wanted another 1,000. It's just every chapter was crazy things happening, twists and turns. Just Durfee knows how to do action and religion writing, and just so many twists and turns, and just the brutality, the unexpected. Like you could never predict what was going to happen. We like to say, authors will pull the rug out from under us. I think Durfee pulls the rug out from under you. Then he hits the wooden planks under with a sledgehammer and just drops you into the basement. Then he'll start drilling the floor of the basement. Like just you could never predict anything. Like it's just incredible what he does in this book. And the last 400 pages was one long climax, and I loved every second of it. It was like I was reading 150, 200 pages a day. Like, it's just absolutely kept me in there. And once I read it, there was no question it was my book of the year. And I wish it was more popular. And more people need to read this. More people need to read this because I want more. Like, I would love to get more. I don't think we'll get more, but you could tell there's things in there that there could be more. But just the ending alone was just one of my favorite endings I've seen to a trilogy, into a series in general. Like this has become an all-time trilogy for me now, and I haven't gotten around to ever ranking the series my favorite trilogies, but this will be very high up there if I ever do that anytime soon. Like I want special editions of this. I want hardcovers. I want folio. I want subpress. I want anything. I would love to have this book in a big fancy in your face edition because it would just be so cool and I can't gush enough about this book. If I keep going, I'll probably talk for like 20 minutes about this book alone. So, I think I will go ahead and leave it at that and just read it, people. Everyone should be reading this. With that it rounds out my top 10 of the year. I'd love to know what everyone else's top 10s were, and like I said, I've got plans for 2023. We are here for real this time. No more false starts. 2023 is going to be a big year for this channel, I think. I've got lots of plans. I've got lots of videos I want to make. There's a whole series that I'm going to be doing a review for every single book. Might be spoiler talks just because that'd be a lot simpler, just because I'm not really that good at reviewing yet. And I would spoiler talks, at least I'd be able to talk about the books to people who've read them, just to kind of get used to it. But other than that, I'm going to leave it at that for today, and I will see you guys next time.